Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Businessology Show, where we try to learn how to do design. And really, it's all about how to learn how to run a business as these creative people out in the world. It's such a valuable thing that the creative professions bring, and there's so many different ones. And so we bring people on who have done it, know about it. And we have a guest today who actually teaches about it, which is really cool. So we have Jackie Green. She's the CEO of Behind the Design, offering training, education, marketing services to the design community, really focused on interior design, architectural work, and that's totally her background, even a former college instructor turned marketing expert. So she has a lot of background. So back in 2019, she founded Behind the Design, where the mission is to build a stronger design community by reimagining how we educate, train, and support designers after college. So Jackie, thanks so much. Welcome to the Businessology Show.
Thank you, Jason. I'm so honored to be here.
Very cool. Well, so we've actually not had, so we have a lot of designers on the show and really not interior designers. But in our firm, of course, everybody who listens knows kind of the Businessology Show is about our CPA firm where we serve the design community. But we've had some interior design clients, and we've seen them struggle, and I wonder, what is the struggle interior designs mainly have? Like, how would you summarize that profession and how they struggle, and why?
One of the biggest reasons why interior designers go out on their own and decide, okay, I'm going to go start my own company, is because they're unhappy with their current situation, and they believe or think that, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to pick the projects I want. I'm going to pick the clients I want. I'm going to design all the time. Well, we know from owning businesses, which, by the way, they don't teach how to run a business in design school, which
Right.
is probably a big part of the problem.
Right.
We know that actually doing the work and running the business are two different things. And so as an owner or CEO, really you're only designing about 20% of the time, and 80% of your time is marketing your business, doing all the financials and operation things that you have to do to make a business successful, sales. There's a lot of other aspects. And so designers leave their jobs and they go out and start their own and think this is going to be easy, when really they just end up creating their own job. And it's a really hard job, because we know as business owners, running your own business is not easy. It isn't for the faint of heart by any means. And so how do we, help them with understanding that as they move through? And again, we don't teach that in design school. I taught one course that kind of talked about practice of how a firm's set up, but I can only teach so much within that period of time. And that I have those students and they're drinking from a water fountain or water hose at that point, it's really hard for them to take that in and apply it to something they don't even know yet.
Yeah. Well, what we were talking off before we started recording, you went through, like, what's your background? It's commercial architecture, or was it interior design in a commercial architecture firm, or what was your background that you
Yeah.
gained all this experience from?
And so I started in marketing, in corporate marketing, and then did a marketing consulting for a long time. And I became burned out. And I was one of those people who had that business where I just created my own job. And you don't make money unless you're working. And I became exhausted. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to try a different career. I'm going to go into design. And just so happened I knew an architect, and he's like, oh yeah, come on board. You can help me with some of my marketing. And I took a class. I talked to my husband into it. Hey, can I take a class? He's like, yeah, whatever. So I went and took a class, and 3 years later, I graduated. I worked for 3 different firms, and I focused on commercial design. At first, thought I'd want to do residential, but residential has its own little tweaks. You're in the middle of people's marriages, and that was not always comfortable
That's
for
not
me.
fun.
No, I didn't want to be their counselor. I'm like, you guys don't need a designer. Y'all need a marriage counselor.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And so I went into commercial because I could wrap my hand around that. That was business, and it wasn't quite as emotionally driven. And so I gathered all this experience and understood such a huge difference between the corporate side in marketing where I'd been and where these architecture firms were, and how we're developing people, how we're leading them. And there was a big miss there. There was opportunities that were lost on how do you build a firm and engage your employees, develop them, develop your leaders, and build a very successful firm that has value as it goes along. And so that's when I decided, okay, I really like teaching. I'd gotten asked to teach a couple of software classes, and I'm like, I like this. Let's try this on a bigger scale.
Very cool. Well, so a lot of what you're talking about is marketing, and you obviously you want to teach designers, interior designers marketing, but you're also talking about just being an entrepreneur, pricing services, leadership. So it's really all of that. And are you saying like interior designers that are running a business struggle with every bit of that?
Now, not all of them, but in a lot of the designers that I've talked to, it's how do I hire people? How do I lead them? How do I build a team? That's a huge risk. And when you're building a business, we really talk about how do you move, and we call it hobby to profitability, but how do we build that job, or how do you go from having a job and going into a profitable business? And that really comes to one mindset. Mindset's always the situation, but it's also building those systems. And design, it's so detail oriented. And anytime that you can build out your processes and systems and improve your efficiency, improve your customer's experience, and you can do that across all of your employees, you have a winning strategy there. And then we also talk about the habits and how do you develop those habits to support those systems. And so we really want to, marketing is definitely my specialty. And we offer marketing services for designers, but it's really much more than that. How do you price? How do you continually bring in more business? How do you sell? And so there's just a lot of it that we just don't teach.
Yeah.
And so what is that opportunity?
Yeah. Can you give me an example of, I mean, I love the title of hobby to profitability because that's really clear what that says. What is the initial mindset that they have? I mean, you mentioned a number of things: mindset, systems, detail, just tons of stuff. But what is the wrong mindset they have, and what's the mindset you want them to have?
One of the big things in the design industry, and this definitely goes to um, this was the mindset for years, is a scarcity mindset. I'm not going to share with you my design secrets because you might steal them and go start your own firm. And that's completely the wrong mindset to think about. One, there's enough to go around. I was talking to a designer and she's like, it's like slaying an elk. There is plenty elk to go around. I'm like, okay, that's a little morbid, but I get it. You're right. But how do we share? And so for a long time, a lot of designers in this industry would hold on really, really tight and say, okay, I'm not going to share my secret sauce because you might steal. We need to switch that and go, no, I need to train my employees so that number one, they're offering the same experience to every customer, but two, they're growing as people. And if I engage them and really bring them into my fold, guess what? They're going to be loyal and they're going to stay. And you know what? If they go off and start their own firm, so be it. But you do right by the employees and they will do right by you. And so that's one of the mindsets. The other mindset is looking at it of, well, I don't want a big company. I just wanted a small little business. I just wanted to create some projects. And design really attracts a lot of moms. And I say that because it's 94%, I believe, are women in this industry. So it's very women, but it's a great lifestyle business. And so you can create your lifestyle. You can be home when the kids get home. You can really still be active in gives you some balance within your life. Not that really owning a business, you have balance,
No,
but
you try.
ever. But it is, for some designers, they look at it as, okay, this is a great thing. I can bring in some extra money, but still, run my household, still be that mom that I want to be. And then when your kids get older, then you can, build a stronger business. And so it's just where you add in that mindset and how does your lifestyle fall into that? And then, thinking bigger. I think we all kind of struggle with that limiting mindset as a whole. I know I do. Of, can I really build this amazing business that, helps all these people? Absolutely. And so how do we work on that and work on our own mindset? Because really the only one standing in our way, I think, is ourselves.
Very cool. And we of course we deal that limiting mindset we find in all kind of business owners, like you
Oh,
said,
yeah.
and even agency owners when we're coaching them and we're like, how do you want to grow? And they're like, I don't want to get big. And so and a lot of times they don't know what that means. But it comes from a mindset of I I want the simplicity of a business that makes money, but I don't want the burden that it comes with. And my partner, like, and a lot of people who know her, they know she says this: "Do you want what it means?" And a lot of times, it's when you do sign up for a business, you get what that means. And sometimes it does come with the need to have employees to grow and expand a little bit to actually make that business be what you want it to be. And it's so there is, I think, sometimes just an outset of a limiting mindset when you say I don't want to get big. I want it to just be me. But if a designer is just by themselves, does that always lead to burnout or can it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that is a really big, when we look at surveys that are conducted within the industry, and even when I talk to designers, it seems like around the 15 to 20-year mark in their career that they really burn out and they're like, this isn't really what I signed up for. And I think that's the case in a lot of careers.
Yeah.
And so I think that you constantly, like the designers I'm working with, have kind of reached that point and said, okay, this isn't working with me just doing this by myself. I need to figure out how to grow this business beyond me because I'm tired. I'm tired of getting calls on the weekends. I'm tired of clients, invading my weekend space. I'm tired of working all these hours. Things are falling through the cracks. It becomes exhausting. And so a lot of the people that are coming to me is okay, how do I grow? It's almost like you're kind of jumping over a hurdle and you're real small and you need to get over that hurdle. But once you do and you hire somebody, all of a sudden, and you start building out, that systems, and you start getting in your groove, start realizing, oh, hold on, we could do this. We could actually help more people. We could do more of this. But I was just talking to a designer on Monday, and she's like, I really want to stop designing. I want to get into more of the operations side of this, and I want to hire other designers. How do I do that? And so, that's one of the things is that I think in any career, in design's no different, we always have to be challenged. We always have to be looking for new opportunities, new things to learn. And that's where you get really engaged, is when you're constantly growing and finding new ways of doing things.
Yeah. That's when it becomes when you gain that excitement back
Exactly.
as to why you got in it in the first place, because you love just a lot of times the result, right? What you
Mhm.
built for somebody and how it changed their life. You can step back and go, that's amazing, but it, like, you almost killed yourself to actually turn a house around into something somebody else loved, and they get burned out. So after 15, 20 years, so you're saying maybe after 15, 20 years, a single designer can come to you and go, I'm burnt out. And so are they at a fork in the road? They're either, I'm going to stop doing this, I'm shutting this thing down, or they're like, Jackie, can you help me turn this into something that doesn't consume me? What's the first thing you do? Are you going to help them hire an employee? Is that the very first thing they do at that
N-
point?
No, I don't think so. What I think is really looking at what's working and what's not working. And what I say with
Okay.
that is I always recommend that you hire the position that you hate doing the most.
Okay.
So let's break it down into smaller pieces. So what is it that you hate? What part of this do you hate? I can tell you from my own experience, I hate bookkeeping.
Okay. There you go.
Okay. I
Not
rely
surprising.
on CPAs and bookkeepers to help me because that's not my forte. And so the smartest thing I can do for my business owner is hire somebody to do that for me. I still need to, keep track. I still need to be involved in it. But what part of your job is really the exhausting part? What part do you love? And so I encourage people to just to sit down and make a list. What do I absolutely love to do? What am I I don't mind doing, and what is it that I absolutely hate? And then can I figure out either through contract workers or by hiring somebody that could take on the stuff that I don't like?
Very cool.
And then, how do we build it from there? So I think that's the first step. It's not necessarily hiring. Another step might be like, I really don't like doing kitchens. Kitchens are not my
I
forte.
see.
I like doing full house remodels.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's stop taking on kitchens and let's take on the full remodel. Let's change who your ideal client is and really focus your attention on the projects that really bring that passion in.
Okay. Yeah. So, and I think a lot of business owners and designers too, I guess we get into the mentality where we think we have to take any client that comes to the
Yes.
business, right? Our job is to take any client. But when we coach people, we say, no, you choose your clients. They don't choose you.
Yeah.
And would you say that's a major issue is that they're letting anything come in and you're saying, if you like kitchens, only do kitchens,
Mhm.
and raise the price because you're probably going to become an expert at kitchens
Right,
also.
absolutely, and
So
you're
it's starting to
absolutely correct.
pick.
Mhm. Yeah, start to pick those ideal clients. Who are the people that you really like? And I get this question a lot. Well, how do I know who my ideal client is? You need to write it down and think about all the projects and all the clients you've had. Which ones did really you enjoyed working with? And then look at what were those traits or characteristics that made that a good experience. Was it the people? Was it the project itself, the type of work? And really analyze that. And then you'll end up seeing some, buckets of things and projects and people that you really liked. Like I really liked working on this size of a project with this type of homeowner. And this is what, the sweet spot was. And so then you're going to go after with all of your marketing and your sales efforts, you're going to go after that ideal client. And that's going to help a lot because when we say no and when we fire bad clients, it actually helps us from a business standpoint because we think, oh well, oh no, if I fire them, then what's the next project? I'm not going to get enough work. I'm going to fail. No, more work will come and more work when you really focus your attention on what drives your passion, more of those will come about.
Yeah. From some of the things you're saying, it sounds like, and I think this is true for all business owners too, is they're driven by a lot of fear, the interior
Mhm.
designers, right? You're saying take a risk, hire somebody, say no to kitchens or only take kitchens. And a lot of those are fearful. It's like, well, can I lead a person or will I get more work? Do you think fear that's a string running through a lot of people's lives related to this work and making it work for them?
Absolutely. I think that anytime you go out on your own and all the pressure that's on you to not only bring in income for yourself, but then even when you start to hire somebody or hire a team, those people are relying on you. There's a lot of stress on that. And I think most people really want to do a great job. They really want to serve their clients. And I truly believe that, but we put so much stress on ourselves, especially for a lot of the clients I see as well. I work with a lot of women and a lot of moms, and they put on, and I have been victim of this as well of my own doing, is we put so much pressure on ourselves with the kids and serving our partners and serving our company and doing all these things that it is really easy to be fearful and make decisions out of fear rather than looking at it from a strategic what is best for the direction that we are going. And knowing where you want to go is so important. And knowing, having that vision and going, okay, this is where I'm at today. Where am I going? And what is going to get me there? And make those decisions based on that, not based on, oh, what if? What if this doesn't work out? What if I fail? What if my clients all run for the hills and
Yeah.
I don't get paid?
Yeah, yeah. So fear, running a business based on fear, really doesn't ever work out long term.
Mm-mm.
Now, when you're small and you can just bump around through your fear if it's just you, but if you start expanding and you get more projects than you can manage yourself, meaning you need a team, fear will burn a business to the ground or burn the owner out because they're trying to juggle their fears. And I like what you said, being strategic. That is, what is best for the future, plan methodical moves that support this business's growth. Those are always what's going to help doing it. But being strategic means you have to fight fear. So do you, even if you're fearful, do you just have to go do stuff you're scared to do? So sometimes you have to just be fearful and do it anyway?
You do. And I was talking to she's actually my coach, and she was talking about this. When you have an inner voice that will protect you, and that inner voice is there to protect you. And so when you hear that inner voice, give it a name and talk to her. So I named mine Scared Sally. Don't ask me why I called it Scared Sally. I
I
just
love
thought
it.
it'd be cute, Scared Sally. So when I get all fearful, and it usually happens, I promise you, first when I wake up or when I'm going to bed, all of a sudden I'm like, oh my goodness, I forgot to do this or I forgot to do that. And then what about this? And what about that client hasn't gone through? And what about if they don't say da 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 da, and then da 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 da, and then my mind blows up and then I'm not sleeping well, right? And so if we sit back and just sit there and go, hey, Scared Sally, I know you're scared. I know this is hard, but we got this. We're making the decisions for the right, and just acknowledge that you have that fear. Now, that sounds really woo-woo, and I'm not a huge woo-woo person. I'm more of a bull in a china shop where I'm just like, move, I'm coming through. But when she started telling me this and teaching me this, I was like, you're right. We're there. We have this gut or whatever inside of us that is sitting there trying to protect us. When we can soothe that, that gives us more power to shine bright and to go out and really overcome our fears. And the thing about fear is when you tackle something and you succeed at it, guess what? You're not fearful of it anymore. And it seems like, why was I fearful of that in the first place? That was easy. But you have to get through it, and you have to push your boundaries sometimes. You have to push through that fear.
Yeah. Fear is often lying to us. It is not, it is often not accurate. Sometimes it's accurate.
Mhm.
But more than not, it's an emotion that we feel that is not based upon a reality.
Right. And
And
ignoring it isn't always good. Just acknowledging it is there.
true. Yeah. Okay. So if you're fearful, ignoring it is foolish, but acknowledging it is key.
Mhm.
To go, that's what I'm dealing with. I'm actually walking through. And it's also to remember everybody's fearful. It's like, we tell our entrepreneurial clients, comparison is really such a dangerous thing because you think somebody else has it all together and they walk through their own levels of fear too. Everybody does. So, fighting comparison is really important too when you're fighting your own fears. So Jackie, we've talked about you help people with mentality, starting that and then kind of mapping out, what do you love? What do you not love? Let's kind of map out what you do,
Mhm.
choosing certain, types of businesses or types of work that you do. What are some of the systems? Because it sounds like you've mentioned that a couple of times. That's also a key to making any business run well. Are there first level sets of systems you want them to start building if they're going to expand and grow?
Yeah, absolutely. I look at it and as I call them the P's, and it comes pretty much from the marketing P's, but I really focus on people first. Who are you serving? And really identifying your ideal client. So until you know who you really are serving, you can't really build out your message and build out your products. When we find out who we want to serve, then we go into products. What products can I offer that solve the problems that this market has and that this audience has? So um, what are those products I can sell? Is that service? Is it products? Is it a combination? What does that look like? And that's based on who I'm serving. Then we go into pricing. What's your pricing strategy? And so often designers price themselves as an hourly. They think, especially newcomers that are just out on their own, and they're like, well, I want to make $100,000 if I work 40 hours a week and I divide that in, this is how much I have to make an hour. That's not the case. You need to use it as you're only going to work 20% of those 40 hours if you're lucky, because those are billable hours. You're not billing every hour you work
Ah,
in your business.
good point.
And so you have to look at it that way. And so I really teach more of one, looking at your value, but also more of a third of it being your salary, a third being operations, employees' benefits, and a third reinvesting in your company. And that's the simplest way I know how to do it without being too detailed. And I'm sure there's pricing strategists out there going, no, there's a lot more to it, but we try to keep it a little bit simple to get them started.
Yeah.
And then your pricing. So then what's next is that promotion. It's the sales and promotion part of it. How are you going to reach that audience? How are you going to promote your products? And how are you going to continuously do that? So one of the big challenges designers have is they'll ramp up and do a bunch of marketing and have some clients, and then they work on that client work, and then they let the marketing drop off, and then they don't have any clients when that client project's done. And so how do you continuously be consistent with your marketing? So we really focus on those primary 4 areas, really from the start, to know how to grow that.
Yeah.
And then our last thing, of course, is then how do you build those habits around those systems?
Yeah.
I mean, your systems within even your products and services, how are you going to serve? What's your communication with your client? How often will you communicate with them? What are the systems as far as ordering product? What is your system for managing where that product is delivered and how that is delivered to the client? There's a lot of systems with each one of those, but those are kind of the 4 buckets we really focus on.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And the systems are key because there's so much detail to this type of work which is, I didn't know. You were telling me that, and of course that makes sense. I guess you shared some of that with me. Can you walk through, like, when you say detail, there's so much detail to this. What is that? It's proposing, designing, checking in the furniture, placing it, working with a contractor. Like, what's all involved in the detail that you have to manage?
If you're remodeling your house, say you're remodeling your house, we have to build construction documents for that. So not only do we have to determine, okay, what is the design of this project, but also how are we going to construct it? How are we going to communicate not only to the contractor that these need to be done, but also to the jurisdiction? Because if you need code approval, so it has to meet code, building codes, you most likely are sending it through the building department. There's a lot of back and forth, and there's a lot of details in making sure that you're communicating every aspect. When I first started in this industry, I'm like, whoa, well, the contractor has common sense. They can figure this out. And it's like, no.
No.
Not that the contractor doesn't have common sense, but you have to treat it like they are the dumbest person on the face of the earth, and you have to communicate your design intent to the very smallest little detail so that it comes out right. And when we do this, then it actually eliminates problems while we're in construction. But once we get that part and we get our plans, we've got the contractor on board, we start picking out our finishes. Our finishes come in, they don't come in, things get back ordered, they're not coming in, like tile's not coming in when the tile layer's there. Wallpaper's back ordered. Oh, we screwed up a roll. This roll didn't. Wrong fabric on wrong. I mean, there's so many details on making sure that the ordering process and procurement of items comes in on time and that gets to the right place, and that the subcontractor has that information so that they can install it if it's an install thing, or it's there when we do our install. And then we move into the installation of everything. You have your construction, but then if we're doing the furniture package, we have to install that. We have to put everything in. What does that look like? And so there's a lot of details that the client never even sees. A lot of follow-up phone calls, a lot of checking up on who's doing this part or who's doing that part. And a big part of this is building out your systems is, one, how can you add efficiencies when you're doing those things?
Yeah.
Using the right software, using project management software is so important. And a lot of designers don't take advantage of the software available out there. But then also, how do we really tell the client or communicate with them all the stuff in the back end that we are doing that they don't even see?
Yeah.
All they see is the end product. They don't see that I've been on the phone for over an hour yelling at the shipping company because they've lost my fabric that needs to get over to the manufacturer for the chair because if we don't get the fabric on there, the chair's not going to arrive for 6 weeks. It's just, there's a lot of the behind the scenes stuff and the details that you have to be on top of.
Yeah, and the details, a lot of the details that are managed by these interior design firms that is the value. It's
Mhm.
that's and I guess and even the I don't know, corporate companies or even residential homeowners, they don't know really what it takes to do all that. It would blow their mind. I mean,
Mhm.
but that's kind of what they're paying for. They're paying for all of these details to sit inside of a designer's mind. So do designers keep that stuff in their head? Is that a problem? Like they're managing all that in their head?
A lot of times, yes. And
That would
that's
drive me
where
bonkers.
exactly. I would
Yeah.
forget.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting older. I will forget.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one of the things we talk about those systems is if you can put that in a project management software, then even if you go on vacation or you get sick, you have an assistant, they can pick up and see, okay, this needs to be followed up on, or this needs to be, we need to tell the client this, or we need this phone call, or talk to the contractor about this. And when we use software to really help us keep organized, it really will help as you grow a company because that enables everybody. And for us, when we're working with our clients, we actually develop projects specific to them. And so that any given time I give them access to that software, they can see where we're at in their project and they don't have to pick up the phone. They don't have to drop a text or an email. They can just look and go, oh, I see they've, done this, this, and this. That's great. It's moving along. I don't have to stress about this. So anything that you can do to help that client as they go through, but still communicating all the different things that you do and keep yourself organized
Yeah.
is really important.
Yeah. So keeping yourself organized creates efficiency, which lets
Mhm.
which can lead into making more money. But also being organized is a way to communicate your value more clearly too, so
Exactly.
that the homeowner, they feel the justification for the price that you're asking them to pay because you keep them notified. And I guess
Mhm.
that's a key in this business is to let that homeowner constantly know the progress or they're going to get pretty frustrated that because they just don't know what the heck is going on.
That is totally true. And I always encourage when we look at somebody's website, tell them what the process is. What can they expect? When construction happens on someone's home, and I know this from my own experience, and I've run my own projects remodeling my own house, it is stressful. I know what's going on. I did the design work, but it is really stressful and disruptive when your kitchen has been destroyed and you're waiting for some cabinet doors that were damaged to come in and you can't cook in there and you're eating out every day. This is very disruptive. So anything that we can do to offset and let the client know, hey, this is going to stink. I'm sorry, it's going to stink. You're going to be eating out. You're going to get sick of restaurants. It's just a matter of fact. But here's what's going on, and this is how I'm going to help you. That's going to help that customer experience. So even though that is a rough period of having your house in construction, anything you can do to help them is going to make them much happier in the end. And guess what? Happy clients sing your praises to all their friends.
Yeah.
You get more business.
Yeah. Nice. Well, Jackie, as we're headed towards the end, you really went from designer, college professor, and you that's what you do now. Right behind the design is it has courses to teach, and we know in our firm, constant education to our team, just even small bites of education in our weekly team meetings really constantly help them grow. What are some of the main courses you teach that are really some of the most integral, kind of foundational things that these design owners need?
Sure, we have a course. We offer credit CEUs, continuing education. So designers are required, if they're registered, to have 10 credits per every 2 years. So some kind of further education, professional development, if they're registered with one of the associations. Not everybody who's a designer actually went to school. It's part of this industry. They don't all do that. So continuing education isn't always that important. But we offer a course around branding. How do you brand your company?
Cool.
We offer our hobby to profitability course. We offer also training around Revit, which is a software that we do. It's called Revit Mastery, where you learn how to do your construction documents in Revit. And then we've also taught SketchUp, which is another software. And so we really look at, okay, what's the need and what's coming out and how can we educate people around, different aspects. And then we also do a lot of articles and resources available that are completely free for people that sign up for our, on our website, and just to help them step through. Because my thought is, I can help you from marketing services. You can hire us to do those marketing services, or I can provide you with the information if you're a DIYer and you want to do it. Here's the information. This is how I do it. This is my secret. It's nothing. There's no secret here. I stay organized. These are the details. This is my step-by-step guide. Here, have it. It's good. And, by offering both sides of that, I feel like we are helping on a larger scale.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, so where do people find out more about you? When they're ready to go check out things online.
Sure, you can find us at behindthedesignco.com.
Very cool.
And that's our handle on most of the social platforms as well.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, Jackie, thank you for teaching us about design and the struggles really we all have. It was just an example of what we all struggle with.
Absolutely.
In design. So thanks for being on the Businessology Show. We really appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Cool. Take care.